Okay.
Hi, everyone. I am here today with a very dear friend and client of my Rise 9-Week Women's Empowerment Program, Krystal. Krystal and I go way back. However, I have had the pleasure of coaching her in this program that I've created, and I want to interview her just in case there was somebody on the fence, whether they wanted to join the program, just to give a little bit of insight, some of the results that you can expect. Krystal has had extraordinary results in this program, in this 9-week program, and she's currently enrolled in Rise 2. So, Krystal, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Well, as you just said, my name is Krystal. I live in the Boston area. I have two children, a 10 and a 12-year-old. I am divorced. I divorced back in 2018, separated in 2017, and I am in a relationship now for 5 years, and I am engaged to be married, of course. I work in the dental field. I'm a manager, and I hold my family and friends dear. That is huge, huge, huge. I think asset of mine is how my big heart. And I would also say that I'm an introvert. Those who know me have a really hard time believing that, or they forget how shy I might have been when they first met me. But when I try to explain to people how shy I am, people to my right who know me look at me like I'm crazy. Like, what do you mean you're shy? Um, but that is who I am, but once I open up and I feel safe, I'm definitely I'm an open book.
Awesome, beautiful. Tell us why you were a yes to this 9-week program.
I felt like there had to be a shift. For a while now, I felt like I just kind of got sucked into life. Basically, what I mean by that is, again, because of how I pull my family and friends dear, I was putting myself in the back seat a lot, and thinking of myself last and everything. And I was as aware as I was of it. I never gave the time to address it. And I was talking to you or to Nicole one moment, and I said, something needs to change. I know something needs to change, but I don't know. I know the things that need to be done, but I almost need somebody to guide me. It's always easier to tell somebody else what to do. But for myself, it's always difficult to see within yourself. And I just knew that I was basically getting sick and tired of feeling that way. There was a time in my life, I guess, shortly after I got separated, um, everything was going for me essentially. And because I was in that energy,
Mhm.
at that point, I felt like I had nothing to lose. So I manifested all these things in my life that I wanted, and I kind of lost that over the years, just trying to be a mom, be a working woman, head of the household to some degree. It puts a lot of pressures, and you kind of lose sight of all that. So that's why that's why I wanted to do the program, and why I felt like it was time to do something, because it was time to put myself first.
Absolutely, yeah. And as I said in the beginning, I know Krystal. We are very, very, very good friends. Um, and I know the heart that you have. I know you have such a really big heart, and I know you do everything possible for your kids. And when you're a mom and you put your kids first, would you say it's easy to put yourself kind of on the back burner?
100%. It's
Yeah.
very easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've had some pretty remarkable results in this program, and part of the program that I speak to one my clients is I speak to the importance, especially for parents, of putting themselves first and
Hmm.
how important that is because it actually supports everybody else in your life. So Tell me what kind of results you've had by putting yourself first when I know it wasn't easy for you at all.
No, no, it hasn't been easy. But your program has gave me the accountability that I was looking for as well. The weekly check-ins, and beside even the weekly check-ins, you've made yourself available, just because we had that one day a week that we would meet and catch up on things and talk about how my week went and what I could work on. If something came up, knowing that I could either text you or call you, and whenever you were available, you would connect with me, made it that much easier for me to know that there was always somebody there. Um, but it was successful, and it is successful. It's a work in progress as always, and as everything is in life, because one of the biggest takeaways I had, because I tend to fester in my feelings, was, you showed me, or reminded me rather, that it's okay to feel what I'm feeling, but then to let it go. And I think that's why that was a big part of it, because I was stressing out a lot about, work, financials, having time for myself, which was affecting my health. So a lot of those things, a lot those were all variations of stress. And after going through the program and talking things through you, and adjusting my mindset and how I look at things, it made a huge difference, even when I didn't even realize it. Especially the financial part. I would ask for a sign, and there it was. And it was like one thing after another. I had certain, bills were being paid that I was so grateful, that I didn't even know was a possibility, from a program that Jeff had through work. Uh, and that caught off, like, I think it was like 16 or $1,700 in bills, which were great. Was great. It was a great surprise. I had gift cards coming in the mail that I had no idea that were coming in the mail. Uh, all these things were coming up, that all I kept showing was gratitude, no matter how little or how big it was. And then that's when I realized it, because I allowed myself to shift out of that energy, where it was like, kind of, let it be. it don't dwell on the negative part of the situation, because that's what I'm going to bring into my life. And once I kind of I moved over that situation, or that emotion rather, things were changing, and it felt so good. I realized and remembered that I'm a powerhouse. I'm a very, very strong woman, and what I am capable of is absolutely infinite, as long as I allow it to. And this program reminded me of that, and it was felt I cried in this program few times, because I couldn't believe some of the things that I didn't realize. I mean, I always realized how special my kids were, but a lot of what I do really comes from my children. And I had a few breakthroughs where I was crying, and Nicole would make jokes like, "Okay, let's stop crying now." But again, feel your feelings. So yeah, I would say the stress part, and the fact that I'm taking action on my health, giving myself the time for those things. I've seen such a big benefit and big change, and even my family has. So yeah, so to not go off tangent, because that's what I'm usually good at.
Yeah, me too. I love it.
That's the nutshell. I mean, I could go on for days and days. Like I said, the introvert in me can just keep talking. But yeah, no, that I think that was the best, and just the joy and the happiness that I felt again. And it's not to say I wasn't happy, but it was
Mhm.
it was such a great reminder of what the possibilities are.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I love what you were saying earlier. First of all, I love everything that you just said because I absolutely have seen the shift occur in this. And this is, what I feel is my role is supporting people I'm not shifting anybody. I'm not doing it. It's you
No.
all that you're doing the heavy lifting.
Yes.
I'm just honored to be a guide to show you what needs to be picked up and what needs to be put down. And
Mhm.
you have absolutely just been knocking it out of the park. From where we started, from where your energy was when we started to
Mhm.
now, and you have opportunity after opportunity open up for you in just so many different ways that it's just like I had to do this interview because I'm like, everybody just needs to know, like, Krystal is manifesting like crazy, and that's
I really am.
yes. Yeah.
In all aspects, health, career, financially, love. It's just, I'm not just saying that. It's really, really true.
Yeah. I've definitely I've been the gracious witness of all. It's been absolutely beautiful to see. And like I said, this is why I couldn't wait to interview you for this. Um, so what was there, and did you have any trepidation starting coaching with me? I know we've known each other, but did you have any trepidation about what might come up or what you might have to face or look at within yourself?
I mean, one of the things was maybe just being vulnerable,
Mhm.
depending on what came up, the unknown. I always struggled with, what other people might think of me.
Mhm.
I feel like you're you pass no judgment, even though I know I've known you for so long. You make it so easy for someone to speak to you about anything, and I know that firsthand because I've referred people to you in other situations, and that's the first thing that they've said to me is like, "Nic, it's so easy to speak to my father. He's always like
Oh,
enamored."
oh, I love your dad.
It's true. There's just something about speaking with you, but I would say it was just maybe being vulnerable. But that was a very quick. You lose sight of because you're so into what you're trying to focus on that it kind of got pushed aside real quick. The vulnerability I had, as I could just share it, I was crying, so I had no problem being vulnerable. But I probably that was my initial thing, was maybe feeling exposed, making sure I was going to be open so that I could benefit the most um, from the program, putting the judgment aside, and I was able to do that, and I think that had to do a lot with how you approach yourself in the program.
No, we did some digging. We went back.
We did.
Yeah, we did some digging. And sometimes when we start to dig, we're afraid of what we're going to find. And
Hmm.
sometimes we're surprised at what we find. So were there moments where you were surprised that like there was a sentiment or a feeling or an emotion underneath what was showing up on the surface?
Yes, I remember. I can't remember this specific, but one of the moments where I was crying, I remember saying to you, "Wow, okay, well, I didn't know that was there." And I knew it had something to do with, you know, I think it was with my children,
Mhm.
in my health. That's what it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And knowing how important it was to be a part of my children's lives for as long as I can be, to my control, and that's where my health comes into play. It was so important to me because I want to see all of my children's milestones for when they get married, when they have children, all of that. And that was the part of the program that I broke down, and I we really got deep, and I was just like, oh, okay, well, I didn't know that that existed there, so let's move on. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what would be it.
Beautiful, beautiful. So what kinds of things feel easier to you now?
The letting go of the emotion, just
Mhm.
remembering, it's okay. it's okay to feel like, but just don't sit in your feelings, because that's when things don't go to plan or work out to a person's benefit. I would say that it's still a work in progress, but I'm more aware and more conscious of it, uh and that's what I find to be easier, and especially where I'm more grateful. Not that I wasn't subconsciously grateful of things before, but if something happens in my life, I pause in that moment and I show gratitude. Even to Jeff, my partner, I've gone to him and I said, you know what, I need to acknowledge him right now, and I would thank him for whatever it was. And he was like, well, where'd that come from? I'm like, I just think it's important for you to know and for you to hear that I do appreciate everything that you do, especially, coming into a role from being a single guy and being involved with a woman with two children, and whose ex-husband is still, a big part of her life because of how I want my children's lives to be. Um, and I don't want there to be a separation or feel like they have to pick between sides between their parents. So, for many partners, not just men, for women who are in relationships, that could be a very difficult thing. So I just like to show that appreciation and showing that gratitude. So I think that has been easier for me now.
Beautiful. And that, I know you obviously, but I just have to state for the record that you are a remarkable woman who has been through a lot. And the grace and ease at which you came through with your eyes on, if it's for my children's good, then I'm going to make it work, even if it doesn't sit well with me or if I'm uncomfortable. But even putting your kids first is pretty remarkable to see. So I applaud you on that, Krystal, because that to me still, I think about your experiences and how you just stayed the course, and you stayed in your integrity. And
Mhm.
it's not easy to do when you're kind of swayed with something like the breakup of a family and then the creation of a new family. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Thank
I,
you.
you're very welcome. Totally. I want to talk back, we'll go back a little bit to the time when you said after your divorce,
Mhm.
when you were manifesting and creating all kinds of things in your life. Um,
Mhm.
what do you think the catalyst at that time for you was for you to start creating and manifesting and being on that role?
I think at that point, the most unexpected thing happened in my life, and I felt like, well, I had no control over that. So I was kind of like, F it.
Yeah.
Like, this is how I'm gonna live my life. You know, One of the examples I had was, I remember calling one of my girlfriends. It was over Christmas weekend, because Christmas fell on a Saturday, Sunday, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. And I said that earlier that week, I go, you know what? I just felt like I wanted to go to New York City, and I was going to go to New York City. I was going to make it happen. I didn't care how. And my children were going to be with their father on Christmas Eve, so I didn't get them till Christmas Day. So I said, no. I called her up. I go, what are you doing this weekend? Are you working? She goes, well, I am, but I can maybe figure something. I'm like, I'm you want to come to New York City with me? And she's like, yeah, I'm paying. Like, in my mind, it was going to happen. I didn't care how. And I just paid for her and I to go to New York City. I booked the flights, I booked a show, and it felt so liberating. And I think that's what it was. In that moment, I felt like I had nothing to lose. Because I felt like I had lost everything at one point prior to that. So I can only go up from there. So I think almost ripping that control um from my life, because I tend to be comfortable in control, gave me that freedom to just say, F it, this is it. I'm gonna do it. and and that's why, like, Jeff came into my life so soon after my divorce. I never in a million years did I put myself out there. Yeah, I did, but I wasn't expecting to snag somebody so quickly. um And I did, and he's been such a great partner for me, and such a great, role model for my children, and how involved, like I said, I can't be more grateful. But I think that's, to go back, that's where it all was. Is just, there was nothing left. I didn't care about judgment at that point. My conscience was clear. Even then, I knew I was living in integrity. I didn't care. People knew it, whether they knew the story or they didn't know the story as to why I was getting divorced. I just knew I was being true to myself. And if people didn't like it, oh well. And I feel like that's a huge thing, is just living your life based on what you wanted, not by what other people wanted. And that was definitely something I was living by in that period of time.
Do you think you're more in a space of that now as well?
Oh yes, 100%.
Mhm.
I did lose I did lose that for a while. Again, just going through the motions, the drift.
Mhm.
I just
Mhm.
got caught by the wave,
Yeah.
and it sucked me in. And I would tell you so many times, even just trying to connect with my spirituality, how much time I wanted to, like, I want to involve myself back in. I want to, pay attention to, what's being said to me from, my spiritual side and stuff like that. And I just kept ignoring it because life was just getting in the way. And 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 it was actually kind of sad, because I was aware that it was happening, but I felt like I couldn't help myself in that moment. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you tell people who might be on the fence for this program, or what would you tell someone who's considering signing up for this program?
I would tell them that it's going to be scary, of course, because anything that you're not familiar with, the unknown of something, is always scary. But fear fear is a good thing. Fear is where you grow. And if you allow yourself to feel into that and to push through it, what is possible is just absolutely worth the ride. That's all I can say. But yeah, for sure, it's going to be scary. You don't know what's going to come up for you, but it's going to be remarkable. It really truly is.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Krystal, for having this interview with me today.
You're
Thank you for telling
welcome.
your story too. I'm so excited to get this video out to show other people what's possible. Because you are an extraordinary person, but anybody can achieve these extraordinary results you've had as well. So I want to thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome anytime. I'm so excited. I'm hopping right into Rise 2.
Yeah.
So the journey has not ended for me.
Awesome. And it never does, because we're always growing.
It's so true. It's so true.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today, Krystal. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome anytime.